Uh, so I had a question about what you were just talking about with adjusting the meshes to look the right way with, that mesh being on the floor. So let's say I have the floor set to where it should be, and now I want to calibrate for the distance from the camera, from the pond to the screen mesh.
Well, we took the tracking information
Right.
as to where we went through that. Remember, you wrote down the numbers? And then we take that information and then we put it into here. This will be 1, 2, and then the third number.
So if that's not right, though, like if I do it and something seems wrong, it's because I've measured wrong on the count control, and that's it?
It's because you've measured wrong. Now, if you're using like an LED wall mesh and the center of your screen isn't the center of the screen, you might want to just measure a point. I've found this to be the most accurate way, because if the VR system thinks that your screen is there, then that's all that matters. You know what I mean? That's like, it's not on point accurate, and you could get more accurate. And I'm working on a way to be able to reset your stage and these settings based on more fine-tuned measurements. But this will, you know what I mean? This is to get everybody running and to have fun. But like a LED wall mesh will probably have its 0 point or its like root point away from the mesh itself. And then you'll have to incorporate a better way of calibrating that than what I'm showing you here. And it's just, you'll have to measure it, and then you'll have to, you know what I mean, find out where your VR root is, and then place it in. I mean, you can set up an LED wall this way as well, and I've done it. You know what I mean? You just gotta have to account for your, like if you measure 10 feet from your LED wall and you know that the root of that mesh, the where you can grab it and move it around, is 10 feet away from the wall directly onto it, you could put the tracker there and find out where that lives, and then set where your mesh is going to be in relation to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I understood it to be that, like, if I can adjust those meshes, the space from those meshes within the blueprint that you were just looking at, I can move them slightly if I need to, in different spots. Like,
yes, I would recommend just doing the process over again, though. If it's not right, just do the process over again. I've had no issues. Like, besides, you know what I mean? I would recommend, like, you want to make sure the things can see your screen, and you want to make sure that you're not blocking one of them. And then, in theory, you should have no issues if you do that properly. Like, it should be darn close. I'm going to put in a frustum, like, subtle adjustment in the next setup that just, like, maybe you hit a different button or a combination of buttons and you're able to just slightly move the frustum left or right. And there is a blueprint, Vitaly's blueprint in his version 2, I think, that has a frustum change that you can get a hold of if you're, if you want to enough, you could find it. Is that good?
Yeah.
So we've gone through everything here. Hopefully you have a running setup by now. If you don't, you have to make sure that everything is correct. You just go through the process that we just went through here and just double check everything. It may look slightly different than mine does, but that is entirely up to you. Hopefully you now understand it just enough. It's not going to look just like this. It's going to probably, if you're just doing one screen, I'll show you what it will look like. So if you're just doing one screen, just so you have something to like screen grab and look over 100 million times to try and figure out what you have wrong. It should look like this with your IP address. It should look like this with your resolution of your main screen. And then it should look like this with your resolution of your main screen again. And then in your warp monitor settings, in the event graph, I'm going to Now send it to viewport 1, which I would recommend doing this basic setup first. I'm sorry if I went through everything and you've already put it the same exact way that I did. But just to make sure, this will send it to whatever your first screen is, and that will be the iMac mesh. But you can change this, you can customize this. I recommend sizing it. You can duplicate these, make your own, you know what I mean? You have to get comfortable with it and be able to customize it as of right now, because right now it's more complicated than it should be, but things are in the works to make that less complicated, I believe. I know I'm working on it for you. Config generator. What? And also a thing that just generates all this information for you based on information that you just type in, or having it in the details panel so that you can just calibrate where everything is super easily. So yeah, so I mean, that should, technically that should run, and it will run straight to, oh, it's firing a lot of nodes. I didn't save. Make sure you save, unless you've done something wrong. So that should fire now, and that should just fire straight to my front screen. So it is connected to my tracker. So if I put my tracker, let me see if I can get this right. Oh, I might have crashed it. Oh, nope.
Didn't see it. Didn't see the
So yeah, I mean, my iMac is kind of out of the view, but you can see if I hold it like here, that is, it now thinks that my screen is right here. There you go. There, now it thinks my screen is here. But yeah, that's a fun little thing. My mistake for having that set up. But you just got to understand, you got to like go through this a bunch of times and understand what each of these things are kind of doing, even though it might be a little much at first and it might be a little more complicated, but hopefully this will be a nice jumping off point for a lot of people that couldn't figure out how to get up to this point.